Hi, this is Dan Cortopassi of TSG Multimedia. Today I'm reviewing an HO scale ES44DC locomotive from InterMountain. This model represents a prototype built in 2005, so it would be appropriate for any modern era layout. This model is equipped with DCC and sound, with a Loc-Sound Select sound decoder, and the MSRP is $299.95. InterMountain also offers a DCC non-sound version for $199.95. The model has excellent paint. It's very crisp and even. All of the markings are also very crisp, and all but the tiniest lettering on some of the warning labels is legible with magnification. I wasn't able to detect many voids in the paint, just a few tiny ones around some of the details, but nothing I think is too objectionable. With some weathering, that will probably entirely disappear. The grille detail on the model is nice, and it has pretty good truck detail as well. Some of the plumbing on the underside of the sill is molded on rather than freestanding, but unless you're really looking under there, it's not too noticeable. One detail I really like is the ladder on the fireman's side. The front of the model has a lot of really good detail. The cab roof seems to match the photos that I found of the real BNSF ES44DCs pretty well. I also like the separate windshield wipers. I did notice on my model that one of the MU cables and the trainline air hose were broken off. Those kinds of things are easy enough to replace, but I thought I'd mention it. The model also includes a full cab interior. The model is equipped with Kadee couplers on both ends. The coupler in the front end was low according to the Kadee height gauge. The detail on the rear of the model is also really good, and I like that InterMountain has done the lowered BNSF headlight, which is prototypically correct for this engine. I really like the photo-etched grills on the radiator section, and also the small fans on the radiator. The exhaust stack is very nicely done, and the horn looks really good, with the typical BNSF rearward-facing bells that you see on a lot of these BNSF GEVOs. I also really like the center stripe running down the top of the engine, which is prototypically correct, and a very nice touch. The underbody detail is fairly minimal, but there's enough to look good while it's rolling down the track. All 6 axles are powered, and all 12 wheels pick up electricity. All of the wheels are in gauge according to the NMRA standards gauge. Okay, so I'm starting the model with the sound off, and then I'll turn it on. One thing I did notice is that the F8 key seems to be programmed backwards from most of the other Loc-Sound Selects that I have, in that when F8 is on, the sound is off. Usually it's the other way around on a Loc-Sound. You can set it either way, but it's just not what I'm used to. So I'm going to turn the sound on. While we're waiting for the startup sequence, the engine weight is 17.5 ounces, and I was able to register 2.2 ounces of pull on my force gauge. All right, we'll see if it's ready to move yet. So now we can take a look at the lights. So first I'll turn on the headlight, and then the ditch lights. Ditch lights are a little dim, but they do work. and also the number boards. The way it's programmed, number boards are on F5 and the ditch lights are on F6 on the DCC controller, and the headlights on F0 like you'd expect. One thing that isn't really correct for BNSF is that the ditch lights flash when the horn is blown. But that's something you can easily change with CV programming. One thing I noticed is that there's a pretty major light leak in the nose door when the headlight is on. I think this is a really impressive model. It really captures the look of the real BNSF GEVOs that I've seen when we're out rail fanning. It's got a lot of really good detail, seems like a pretty strong puller, and it runs pretty well. I also want to give InterMountain some kudos for mapping the headlight, ditch lights, and number boards to separate functions. I think that was really good of them to do that. And also nice to see some working number boards in an engine like this. I am going to take off one spike for the coupler height, so my final verdict is 9 out of 10 spikes. If you or your company make a product that you'd like us to review, please drop us a line at reviews@tsgmultimedia.com.